What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Welcome into the Prophecy Misfits Podcast. This is episode 295. 295. The seams and the seams. Yes, the seams and the seams. What's that fancy word when it's pronounced the same way, but it has two different meanings? Or I'm sure somebody in the chat knows what that is. I'm not exactly sure. I knew it one time. Can't think of it now. But either way, welcome in, guys. Thank you for joining me. This is what we do on Tuesdays and Saturdays. We get together and we watch for the signs of the return of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We don't know exactly when he's going to come. We can't figure out, decode some type of day that he's actually going to come and whatnot, even though people seem to constantly want to try and do that. No, we're called to be watchmen. We're called to make sure that we're not caught off guard for the time of when these things happen, specifically the day of the Lord, and we know the rapture is going to happen before that and everything. So that's what we do. We become watchmen. We watch for what's going on, and things are dark. They're dark, but that should be encouragement for us because that means we're one step closer to going home. And so I don't know about you guys. I'm ready to go home. I'm so ready to go home. So just a couple things. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mamas and the mothers and the moms and the madres and however you want to pronounce it. I don't know all the other ways. The mas. I'm sure there's other ways to say mom, but I don't know. So happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there, and thank you for doing what you do. You guys are awesome, and pretty much none of us would be here without you. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. But yeah, so happy Mother's Day out there as well. Also, if I seem a little slow tonight, I've been dealing with a massive headache all day. I woke up with this thing and I've been dealing with it all day. It's kind of gone away, but if I'm a little subdued, it's because of that. So I apologize for that. Hopefully this thing will go away as we go forward in the show, and I'll spring to life a little bit more. But yeah, so episode 295, the seams and the seams. We're going to be going over a few things today. I have the two different versions of seams in there. One is SEEM, which has to do with the seams. Many things that we watch for, a lot of news and information and reports and stuff that we get seem to be pointing towards one thing or another, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen. And so we've had a lot of stuff popping up with like Israel stuff and everything like that just the past 2 days, where it seems like things are going in one direction or another, but we really don't know. So I just want to kind of go over some of that stuff. I'm not going to be giving you any speculation or prediction on what's going to happen because, and I hold firm to this. A lot of you guys who are regulars in my chat know this. I don't talk about Middle East stuff too often unless it's something like this. And the reason being is because I don't care who you are. I don't care if your entire channel has been specifically about Middle Eastern prophecy news and whatnot. Nobody has a clue what's going on over there right now. And the stuff that we have seen recently goes to show that. And so I just want to make sure that we're just aware of what's been going on and everything like that. But for the most part, everything seems like it's going in a direction. Doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen. And then the other seams is SEAM, which has to do with, it seems like the world is falling apart at the seams, which it definitely seems like that. I didn't mean to use seams that many times there, but it just kind of works. But yeah, the world's falling apart at the seams for sure, and it's been falling apart for a long time, but it seems the seams are just getting a little bit longer until this whole thing falls apart. So we're going to be going through some different stuff when it comes to the Middle East and Israel, Trump administration stuff. We're going to be taking a look at what's going on with the possible habeas corpus suspension thing, which that could be interesting. Got a couple bits of pieces of information regarding Trump's supposed Golden Dome, and then we got some stuff when it comes to Charlie Kirk, and some other stuff along the way. So we got some things to talk about for sure. And I have no idea why the chat is talking about squirrels on sticks, but it seems like y'all are from like Missouri or something like that. Because that sounds Missourian for sure. So either way, good to see you guys. And let's see how y'all are doing in the chat. Yeah. I have no idea. We'll go here. That Titus to life. Ugh, I hate headaches. They do me in. Yeah, I've dealt with headaches since I was a child. It's just something that I've always dealt with. No idea why. They're not full-blown migraines, but it's just something I've dealt with. Even asked my parents. I used to walk around with a little bottle of Excedrin because I would get them so often. So I don't know. It's just weird how that works. I hate them too. They're annoying. Sometimes they just get really bad. So, but thank you, Titus. And hopefully you're having a good weekend. And I appreciate you being here. Rick Whitaker is here. Good to see you, Rick. Thanks for spending your Saturday here. Hopefully you're having a good weekend so far. Let's see here. Victoria is here. Good to see. I'm ready to go home too. Yes. Oh, Jesus, please hear your church crying out to get us home. I know it's your timing, but I'm ready to go. 3ID. Good to see you, and thanks for being here. Prayers, well, thank you for your prayers. I certainly appreciate that, so thank you. I covet prayers for sure, so. Mark Collins is here. What's up, Mark? Good to see you. Got the doggo in the picture. Hopefully the doggo's chilling out and having a good weekend along with you, and thanks for spending your Saturday here. Appreciate it. Not of This World is here as well. Please be nice to my tools. My toolbox does awesome work, and I appreciate every single one of them, so please be nice. Let's see, we got Misfit Gracie as well, praying for your headache. Well, thank you, Misfit Gracie. I appreciate that. And hopefully you and Sean are doing all right. Joseph Pena, Jalapeno. What's going on, man? Glad you're here. And thank you for being here. Hopefully you're doing all right. And I appreciate you and all that you do. Amanda Simmons is here with the doggo picture. You guys just know how to do it. Put the doggos in the pictures. That's how you do it. Good to see you, Amanda. Thanks for being here. Old Dog is here. What up, dog? Sorry, I just had to. But good to see you. And hopefully you're doing all right. And any reports on new tricks? Sorry, I could go with the bad jokes all night. But either way, good to see you, Old Dog. Thanks for being here. Ebsy here. Good to see you, Ebsy, from across the pond. Hopefully you are having a good week and a good weekend. And I appreciate you being here. I know it's early for you. And hopefully you grabbed a nap beforehand and can grab a nap after. But good to see you, Ebsy. Thanks for being here. Patricia Schultz as well. And to see a happy Mother's Day to all the Misfit mothers. Yes, indeed. Happy Mother's Day to y'all. Good to see you, Patricia. Thanks for being here. Pamela's here as well. Isaac and everyone, I am ready to go home. I'm with you, Pamela. I am absolutely with you. That's for sure. A Stoletta is here. Homeward Bound sounds great. Yeah, that does sound great. I would love to get home. Let's go. But thank you for being here, A Stoletta. Jessica McCord, good to see you, and hope you'll feel better. I hate headaches. Yeah, they're never fun. Good to see you, Jessica. Thanks for spending your Saturday here. Linda is here. Good to see you, Linda. Thank you for being here, and hopefully you're having a good weekend and getting some rest and doing all right. Thanks for being here. Nancy West is here as well. Waiting for Jesus and cooking squirrels. I what is up with the squirrels, man? I feel bad for the squirrels. Yikes. Let's see. Sean Gelsinger's here. It's not what it's about. I don't think there's anything in this world that really is what it's about, honestly. So yeah, I'm with you on that one, Sean. Nothing seems to be what it's actually supposed to be about. That's for sure. Appearances are deceiving, and we're living in deceiving times, for sure. But glad you're here, man. Thanks for being here. Andrew Turner is here. Good to see you, Andrew. Thank you for your prayers, man. I appreciate it, and hopefully you're doing all right. And my thing just jumped on me again. Okay, we'll go here. Proton Girl, good to see you. And thank you for your prayers, Proton. Hopefully you're doing all right. Thank you for spending your Saturday here. Rachel C. is here as well, laughing at Edward. What did Edward do? Now I'm curious, but good to see you, Rachel. Thanks for being here. Let's see, we got Misfit Peanut. Peanut is here, putting squirrels on sticks. Yeah, well, that's your job. I mean, you're the tool. You're supposed to be doing that. So wrangle them in, Peanut. Mindy Grant is here as well. Good to see you, Mindy. And thank you for being here. Art Darnell is here as well. All in heaven, so I'll go in person. All my mother's grandmothers. Oh, that's going to be a great family reunion when you get home, Art. It's going to be great. It's going to be good stuff. Trace is here as well. Good to see you, Trace. This thing just jumped on me again. Wow, you are not... This thing's being mean. Let's see. Rhonda is here as well. Good to see you, Rhonda. Nancy Wasson is here. Thanks for being here, Nancy. Daniel Morris, first time live. Hey, well, what's up, Daniel? Thanks for being here, man. Glad you're here and spending your time here. Glad you can make it for the first timer. Good to see you, Daniel. Thanks for being here. Dino Spumoni is in the house. Good to see you, Dino. Thanks for being here. And hopefully you're having a good one. We got Bab as well. Bab is here. Donna Roth is here as well. Good to see you, Donna. Chris Believer in Jesus. Good to see you. Jellyfish 67. Miss Mustard says, oh, hello. Good to see you, Miss Mustard. Glad you're here. April Shyrock is here. Good to see you. Fabro is here as well. Let's see. We got Christina Warlick as well. Diane Bowden is here. Jason Garza is here. Good to see you. Judah's here. What's up, man? Good to see you. Wall is here as well. First time. What's up, Wall? Glad you're here, man. And thank you for spending your time here. Glad you're here. First time being here. Appreciate that. Let's see. Over on Rumble, who do we got? We got Mindy G's over there on Rumble, and his image Katie is there as well. Let's see here. We got Mariella, one of those. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I see you. Broinya. That's not even close, but I see you. Glad you're over there as well. Am I missing anybody? Duke is there as well. And Junior Didonato and Romaha. Good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. If I don't pick you out, it's not that I don't like you. It's just we got a bunch of stuff to get to tonight, so we're going to go ahead and get into some housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
I think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
All right, so for housekeeping, usual spiel. If you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. That's why we do this. That's our whole goal. And so liking, sharing, and subscribing does help reach those people that have questions and need the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so if you guys can do me a solid and like, share, subscribe, it certainly helps reach those people and whatnot. So I appreciate that. Also, make sure you guys follow me, Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be back up live streaming over on Rumble. So make sure you guys follow me there, even though Rumble is a pain in the butt, to say the least. It's still just another place for us to to stream to. But either way, make sure you guys follow me over there. And then Telegram, I post updates and announcements and links to new videos and other stuff that I can't put in video form. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow me over on Telegram if you haven't already. Best place to stay up to date, of course, is the WretchedWatchmen.com website. So make sure you guys go ahead and bookmark that page. That's the best place to know what's going on with the latest announcements and video series, podcasts and events and everything like that. So that's your one-stop shop to make sure that you're always up to date on what is going on over there. Also, just a little announcement. No show this Tuesday. No show this coming Tuesday. I believe it's the 13th. Tuesday the 13th, yeah. So no show this coming Tuesday. I've been working on a project behind the scenes, and it's like every extra minute that I have is going towards that. And I'm trying as hard as I can to get it done. And so I'm going to take a show off so I can just dedicate the entire week to working on that. Hopefully here in a few weeks, I'll be able to announce it and let you guys know what's going on. So yeah, there's going to be no show because I'm going to be working on that. Also, if you're sending me emails and it's taking me a few days to respond to you, if it's taking me several days to respond to you, that's why emails have kind of taken a back seat to that as well. So I get to them when I can. But yeah, so I'm just working on something behind the scenes, and hopefully soon I'll be able to share that with you guys. I'm looking forward to that. It should be good. So no show Tuesday, the 13th. So if you show up here and there's nobody here, that's why. So just thought I'd let you know. And last but not least, if you guys would like to support this channel and what I got going on, I got donation links down below, CashApp, Venmo, and Give, Send, Go. This channel is not monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views, anything like that. So if you guys would like to support what I got going on, those links are below. Yeah, thank you guys for your support. You guys are the ones that make this work. You guys are the ones that make everything run. The Lord blesses me through you guys. And so I'm thankful for the Lord, and I'm grateful for you guys. So thank you guys for your support and your blessings and your donations and your prayers and everything. So I truly appreciate it. Thank you guys for that. So, all right, that's all we got. All right, so for the first thing that we're going to get into is it's Saturday. So what we do is we've got ourselves the Wretched Weather Report.
Everybody got their fancy hats? Let's go!
All right, so with the Wretched Weather Report, what we do is we just keep track of the trends of what's going on when it comes to natural events, things like earthquakes, volcanoes, storms, hurricanes, and everything in between regarding that. So I'm not a geologist, I'm not a meteorologist, I'm not a weatherman, I'm not a proctologist, I'm not a plumber. I'm none of those things, but it's always good, I think, just to check in and see what's going on when it comes to natural events. As we know, these things are a part of the birth pains that will increase in size and frequency as we get closer to and into the day of the Lord and all those things. So we just keep track of what's going on. And so this past week, regarding some earthquakes and volcanoes, the earthquakes have taken a drop from last Saturday, from last week. Both in the amount as well as the size. If you guys remember, it was a very lengthy list and there was a lot of very large earthquakes. It's dropped significantly. But this past week in earthquakes, 5.5 magnitude and up, we had a 5.6 in Tortola, British Virgin Islands, a 6.0 in the southern East Pacific Rise, 5.8 in the Mariano Matamoros, Mexico. And then there's a 5.7 in Hualien, Taiwan, 5.5 in Isangil, Vanuatu. There's a 5.8 in the Central East Pacific Rise, and then a 5.6 at Macquarie Island. So that's about it there. I know there was a couple of random kind of larger earthquakes. I know one was in Georgia. I think there was one somewhere else in the mid-southern region. I can't remember exactly where it was, but kind of off the wall ones there. Smaller ones than 5.5, but usually but larger than normal in regards to that. As far as volcanoes, we actually gained one. So if you guys remember, we had a big jump last week, jumping out of the usual 44 to 48 range, but we added another one for 52 total. As far as volcanoes, we got 8 erupting in North America, 6 in South America, 2 in Europe, 3 in Antarctica, 4 in Africa, 19 in Asia, which is +1, and then 10 in Oceania. So +1 equals 52. Simple math, even I can do it. If I can do that math, so can you. But yeah, so that's what we got going on with that. As far as other things going on, nothing that I know of in regards to, possible other natural events occurring elsewhere. I'm probably missing some. Again, I don't know everything that's going on. So if you guys know of anything, feel free to put that in the chat. That's it. Tennessee, Knoxville. That's where it was. That's right. One in Georgia, earthquake in Georgia, and earthquake in Tennessee. Thank you. I saw you guys putting that in there. That's the one I was thinking of on that. So that's what we got for this week's Wretched Weather Report. Good stuff. All right. Let's see here. Got everything good to go. Indeed. All right, so let's go ahead and roll into the first thing that we got going on, and we're going to just take another peek. We've talked about this before, but just take a peek at some of the details that we've received when it comes to what's going on with this quote-unquote Golden Dome missile defense shield that Trump wants to put out. And so, of course, let's see here. Trying to make it big enough for you guys. There we go. We know that this is quote unquote Trump's version of Israel's Iron Dome, but he wants to do this with a giant shield of satellites over the United States. And he's, of course, calling it the Golden Dome because his obsession with gold is crazy, which is weird. You would think it would be called the Orange Dome. I'll just leave that there. I'm sure some of you understand what that means. Anyways, President Trump is poised to get his first big windfall for his Golden Dome with a proposed $25 billion, with a billion dollar, to jumpstart the purported missile defense system. The billions of dollars earmarked for the Golden Dome, part of the GOP's reconciliation bill to increase Pentagon spending by $150 billion, means that the system, long touted by Trump on the campaign trail, will soon start to solidify. So this is adding $150 billion on top of like the 860, 880, somewhere in there, amount that we've got for defense as well. We've talked about this before. He basically wants to make a $1 trillion defense budget. There's a breakdown that you can find that basically says, more than 3/4 of the spending bill that Trump wants to do is going towards defense, military, and police. That should be telling you something when you want to spend that much on military and military hardware as opposed to other things as well. You can see the direction that everything is going in regards to that, and this is adding to it. But the proposed system, meant to act as a shield protecting the continental U.S. against ballistic, hypersonic, and advanced cruise missiles, has its fair share of issues out of the gate, including its enormous price tag, potential effectiveness, and feasibility. Questions have also been raised as to whether the defense contracts to build the Golden Dome could be used to pad the wallets of businesses owned by billionaire Elon Musk and others. And so it goes on to talk about this stuff. There's just a couple that I want to point out. We've talked about this before. There's the possibility of Musk doing it with his subscription-based thing. There's possibility of Palantir teaming up with Anduril to do it as well. So all the main players are definitely involved when it comes to this. But either way, it seems like this is moving forward in one way, shape, or another. This is the Golden Dome missile shield is set to receive $24.7 billion to kick off the initiative. Dollars meant to tie together existing programs with newly developed technology. The reconciliation bill, currently working its way through Congress, allocates the majority of the money to efforts that would set up a network of satellites, interceptors in space that could detect and help shoot down oncoming missiles. Basically, they want to have a giant web of satellites over the United States that's able to shoot the lasers, or as Dr. Evil would say, firing my lasers. Sharks with lasers on their heads. $1 billion. Sorry. But yeah, so basically a giant network of electric eyes above us that can shoot lasers. This couldn't possibly be used for anything devious, now could it? That effort includes $7.2 billion to develop and buy some space-based sensors, $5.6 billion to develop space-based missile interceptors, and $2.4 billion for non-kinetic missile defense capabilities, such as electronic warfare tools, and $2 billion for military satellites with air-moving target indicators. For the technology on the ground, lawmakers include $2.2 billion to speed up the development of hypersonic defense systems, $1.9 billion to improve ground-based missile defense radars, and $800 million for accelerated development and deployment of next-generation intercontinental ballistic missile defense systems. But the project is expected to cost far more than the initial $25 billion, with experts and analysts predicting that the dollar amount for the entire system could reach hundreds of billions, possibly into the trillions. The high cost partially come from the sheer amount of satellites needed to cover and protect the entire United States via sensing and tracking missiles, some 400 to more than 1,000 satellites. Another 200 attack satellites armed with missiles or lasers also would be used to knock down enemy armaments, sources told the outlet. Okay, so just a couple things in regards to this. We're pretty much good on this article. Just a couple things that I want to point out in regards to this whole thing. And I'll start with the big one. Nobody is launching anything at the United States. It's not going to happen. Nobody in their right mind, no country in their right mind would launch anything at the United States. Secondly, nobody really has the armament to launch anything significant at the United States anyways at this point. There's no way. When was this? I think this was years ago when the whole Ukraine-Russia thing first started, and then there was talks about how China not only would go after Taiwan, but would then start launching stuff at the United States. And if even China was to launch their best weapons, their best missiles at us, it would barely make it onto the coast of California. So this whole thing is ridiculous. And obviously there's a whole separate agenda behind this that has nothing to do with actually defending the United States from any incoming armament, but actually has a lot to do with creating a all-seeing network with laser beams on it and in my opinion, would create the biggest open air prison we've ever seen. That's how I view this. I view this as a satellite network prison. Ultimately, as we know, we've already got Starlink's stuff up there, which is building an entire brand new network around the entire world, around the entire globe. And so that's going to be used for that. But this seems to be in the sense of having lasers that can pinpoint, magnifying glasses that can go straight down onto us to do this. And so this seems to be more inclined of a open air prison rather than anything else. Nobody has nobody's launched anything at us. Nobody has the distance to launch anything at us. And if anything is like, oh, well, they can send ships or subs or something at us, we'll see that stuff. There's capabilities all over the place. But again, you got to start thinking in the aspect of these guys aren't actual enemies. If they're going to launch something from, say, a ship or a sub, they're going to be allowed to do so it can purposely strike somewhere and advance things further. And this isn't highly conspiratorial, which a lot of people think, oh, it's conspiracy and stuff like that. Not really. These are false flag attacks that have happened countless times throughout history to get things going. Gulf of Tonga, the Reichstag fire. We're actually going to talk about something involving that in just a second. 9/11. These are provable, fact-based things in history that have been used where either countries have attacked themselves or countries have allowed other countries to attack us in order to make things move forward in the direction that they want to. And so, again, this idea of this Golden Dome missile to protect us from incoming armaments from our enemies, not buying it. There's something else involved with it. I don't know what it is. Can't tell you what it is. Well, I can't tell you what it is because I don't know what it is. If I did know what it is, I would tell you. Anyways, we're going to move on from that. But ultimately, this seems to be something else inclined. Whether it's a wealth transfer to a technology that they want to get rolled out in the name of this, whether it's just a wealth transfer for something else, whether it's actually about creating some type of satellite network to have magnifying glasses and laser beams, kind of like a giant kid with a magnifying glass on an anthill. That was always fun when I was a kid. I did that a couple times. That's right. I'll admit it. It was fun. If you've never burnt an ant with a magnifying glass, you haven't lived. Just saying. Think of all the kids nowadays that haven't done that because they're addicted to their phones and whatnot. It's sad. Get out there. Get a nice stick. Get a magnifying glass. Poke the anthill. Burn them. Have some fun. Anyways. That's right, Patrick. Ant bully. Exactly. You haven't lived. Good stuff. But yeah, so just a couple things that I wanted to point out. We got a few more details on what this thing would what this thing is inclined to be, or so they're telling us. But yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with what they're actually telling us on that. So, okay, let's move on to the next one. Wait, what? Did it with the grasshoppers? Man, I thought, how did you get them to hold still to do that? You know what, Linda? I don't want to know. I think you may have taken the insect torture a little bit further than I have, and I'm not sure I want to be a part of that. I'm not sure I want to be a part of that. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next thing here. All right. So we got this now. Fun times. White House is considering suspending habeas corpus. Stephen Miller, top policy dude. Trump's top policy dude said, suspending habeas corpus. This is great. So Stephen Miller, President Trump's top policy advisor, said Friday that the White House is exploring the option of suspending habeas corpus, the constitutional provision that protects from unlawful detainment. Basically, what this thing does is it protects us, U.S. citizens, from getting detained, arrested, prosecuted, sentenced, and sometimes even killed without due process, without judges, without trial without any of that stuff. Basically, you can have somebody who claims to be a police officer or a trooper or even National Guard or anything, military, whatever it is. They don't have to show you their badge. They just come up to you, arrest you, throw you in the back of the car, and then they can go and do with you with what they will. That's what that thing does to protect us. And they're basically saying that they want to try and suspend it. Why? Well, let's keep going, shall we? The move marks another escalation in the Trump administration's to fight the judicial branch as it tries to ramp up deportation of the immigrants. So this is the play, the left-right paradigm play that we've talked about before when it comes to this. And so what you do is you create the problem, you react and bring in the solution for it. And so we've talked about this before. All the woke stuff, they created a problem. Biden brought in all the woke stuff, all the transgender stuff, all the alphabet stuff, all the DEI stuff, everything like that. And so everybody is just and they did it so ridiculously over the top that they were begging for Trump to come in and just start demolishing that. Well, in the name of demolishing those things, they went in and started doing the Doge thing, which we understand the Doge situation was about going in and removing flesh and blood in order to replace it with silicone and computer chips by the AI programs, installing the brand new technocratic AI governmental system that they've been doing with that. So we got the same thing here with the immigration stuff. You ship in immigrants, you allow them to come in, you do all these things when it comes to the immigration problem. So when Trump comes in, people are begging. I've seen the comments on social media whenever I see these posts. People are begging for the Trump administration to unleash the United States military upon U.S. soil. People are actually begging for martial law. I've seen countless posts from people saying, if Trump needs to declare martial law in order to get rid of the immigration problem, I am all for it. And then we have influencers, right-wing influencers, paid propagandists going out there and cheering on for them to actually suspend habeas corpus in order to fight the immigration problem. Do we have an immigration problem? Yes, we do. Nobody is denying that. But when you have something like this, so extreme, so over the top, so orchestrated and created, that you will beg for them to literally take away your rights, your constitutional God-given rights, in order to fix said problem, you're never getting them back. Once they take away rights, they don't give them back. That is history. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Do we have an immigration problem? Yes. But that does not mean that we do things like this. That's just stupid. But this is how people think. Why? Because they're caught up in the now religion. Uh-oh. I'm going to get in trouble if I talk about that again. But it's the now religion. It's the politics. We've got to do this. Trump is restraining the evil. Yes. So I've been told. Anyways. What he's saying, the Constitution is clear. Stephen Miller told reporters outside the White House, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended at a time of invasion. We'll get to that in just a second. So to say that's an option we're actively looking at, a lot of it depends on whether the courts do the right thing or not. And so they're using the court system in order to do this because judges, there's some corrupt ones that are doing stupid moves, but then there's some that are actually trying to say you need to do this the right way, and they're lumping all of them together and just saying we're not going to do what you're telling us to do. So there goes the checks and balances system. So we've got that problem as well. So they're using that as an excuse to do it, as well as the invasion thing, which again, we'll talk about that in just a second. The Constitution allows for habeas corpus to be suspended when the cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. Miller cited the termination of the temporary protected status for some immigrants, alleging the courts violated laws passed by Congress by stepping in where they had no jurisdiction. And the courts aren't just at war with the executive branch. The courts are at war with radical rogue judges. Again, they're lumping them all together. Yes, there are corrupt ones that are doing the garbage stuff, but then there are some that are actually saying you just need to do it the right way. You're not doing it the right way. With the legislative branch as well, too, Miller said. All of that will inform the choices that the president ultimately makes. That's not correct either. But again, we're going to go over all the variables to this when it comes to this, because there's a lot of things to consider. Trump has tried to frame undocumented immigration as an invasion of the United States in many of his executive orders. Yeah, invoking sweeping wartime powers to speed up the immigrants' removals, often with little or no due process. That's all true. Trump has raged against the judges who have blocked many of his measures, leading to threats to impeach them. So basically saying, well, I'm trying to go around you. You're not letting me do that, so I'm just going to get rid of you. That's basically what that means. The administration has times defied court orders. Yes, they have, including when it failed to turn back deportation flights. None of that stuff really matters. We're not even going to get into that argument because it's pointless at this point. But basically what we got going on here is they created a situation that would give them an avenue. I'm not saying give them the actual option of just doing it, but it's giving them an avenue of doing it by how they've done these executive orders and how they've come out in regards to the situation. So the first thing I want to pull up is so you guys can actually hear it from the horse's mouth. This is a video of Stephen Miller actually saying it, so you guys can hear this. Let's see. Hopefully this will be loud enough. Let's see here.
Well, the Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So I would say that's an option we're actively looking at. Look, a lot of it depends on whether the courts do the right thing or not. At the end of the day.
So there's a little quick. He goes on, the garbage stuff about the judge situation and the invasion of the immigration problems, and blames the last administration for it and all that type of stuff. But what this is doing is this is giving them another option into moving forward into full ability to control the streets of the United States and to take away the rights of United States citizens. That's really what's going on in regards to this. So just to break down a couple things as we go through this. So one of the things that they've got going on is the habeas corpus. What is this? Who can install it? Who can actually suspend this thing? Because a lot of people, unlike this, what Stephen said about the president actually being able to just do it, president ultimately makes. It's not exactly true according to the Constitution. So if we go to the actual Constitution, imagine that. What if we actually go to the source of this stuff? Go to the Constitution. Section 1, Article 1 of the Constitution, Section 1 of the Constitution. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. So the things following is powers by Congress. So if we jump down, gotta try and get down to the right one, Section 9. We go down here, Section 9, Clause 2. So under the powers of Congress, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. So this is something that Congress has to suspend. There's been a time in history where somebody defied that, a president defied that, and did it without Congress. I'll give you guys a chance to answer who that president might be. I've talked about them before, being one of the worst tyrant presidents ever, possibly the worst president in United States history. I'll give you guys a second to throw your answers in the chat in regards to that one. Let's see. We got Patrick that says Obama. No, he did something kind of like it, but not exactly. Wasn't Obama? No. Daniel Morris Johnson? No. Samara says Obama? No. Fabro says O'Biden? No. Oh, yep, there we go. Second time's a charm for Patrick. Lincoln, correct. The president that went and did something massively unconstitutional and illegal in order to go after anybody who did not agree with what he was doing regarding the Civil War, that was Lincoln. One of the biggest tyrants. My personal choice for the worst president in United States history, followed closely by FDR. I know a lot of people like to throw Woodrow Wilson up there. I don't even classify him as a president because he had somebody's hand so far up him, puppeteering him. It's not even funny. But no, it was Lincoln. Lincoln actually did this. It was April 27th, 1861, that Lincoln suspended habeas corpus between Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia illegally in order to remove anyone who was deemed a threat. And basically no due process, no trials, nothing. He just instantly went after these people and they just went poof, gone. But see, the thing is this is a good point that I've made in the past where the history books, the textbooks that you find in high school history classes or social study classes, don't have any of that in there. No, they paint Lincoln as one of the greatest presidents of all time, who saved the country, who united the country, and avoid all of this, just little things like that, that doesn't matter. He freed the slaves, and so it's all good. Just add this to a laundry list of reasons why he was a tyrant. And so that was done, where he didn't do it through Congress. He just declared it as a president. So this brings in the idea of, okay, is it possible that Trump's not going to go through Congress, and could he just do it? Well, it would be super illegal and unconstitutional, but it could be done because it's been done in history before. Well, you got to be able to pave a path to get there. That's true. You have to be able to pave a path. Well, we've talked about some of his executive orders in the past. One, he signed back in, February? I think it was February, where he basically said, where he gave himself full power to interpret the law however he sees fit, which helps pave a path for it. But the other thing has to do with the idea of an invasion, which, if we looked at the Constitution, it's specifically mentioned for rebellion and invasion for public safety. Well, we've been seeing a lot of stuff painting the picture for the immigration problem being an invasion. This comes from January 20th, 2025, an executive order guaranteeing the state's protection against invasion, specifically using the word invasion. And if we go through some of this stuff, it has to do with the illegal immigration. But screening under the most provisions of the INA can be wholly ineffective in the border environment where access to necessary information is limited for aliens who have traveled from the countries around the world to enter the United States illegally, or when the system is overwhelmed, leading to unauthorized entry of innumerable illegal aliens. He is classifying the immigration illegal alien situation as an invasion. That's one of his executive orders. He actually just signed another one yesterday. Shocking, right? What are we at? Like 2,000 of these things now? Hard to keep track. I can't even keep track of all of them now. But he signed another one May 9th, which is yesterday. It says President Donald Trump establishes Project Homecoming. The proclamation offers illegal aliens a choice: leave voluntary federal support and financial assistance, or face strict enforcement and penalties. So again, we're dealing with the illegal immigration problems. Not only does this have to do with that situation and an invasion, there's some wording in here regarding invasion and whatnot as well, but it also directs a full-scale aggressive deportation surge, including an additional 20,000 officers for illegal aliens who do not depart voluntarily. He's basically creating a war on the streets for immigration. And there's a lot of stories and hubbub and a lot of stuff going out there about this person and that person and whatnot. We're not going to try and decipher and go through all that stuff and whatnot. But we have seen both illegal immigrants and U.S. citizens be arrested by ICE. We have seen both. And basically creating a war of what's going, a war, illegal immigration war on the streets of the United States. And he's using the term invasion in particular because it creates an avenue for suspending habeas corpus. That's why that's important. I've seen a ton of videos. The videos are starting to roll out now where you are seeing ICE and police dressed up as military units with their faces covered, chasing people down the streets, beating crowds of people, and arresting people all over the United States. You'll find videos here and there and stuff like that. It's happening all over the place. And you want to talk about public safety, which again is part of the constitutional clause there. You got invasion, you got safety, you got all this stuff. He's creating an avenue. I'm not sitting here and telling you that this will happen. I'm not saying that. But we have seen a bunch of things go in the direction of declaring some type of martial law. We have seen this in many different ways, going all the way back. We saw years ago, there was the directive from Homeland Security that deemed parents who were fed up with what was going on in school board meetings and naming them as domestic terrorists. We've seen things when it comes to the DOD directives, talking about utilizing the military to support police and to physically and lethally kill U.S. citizens. We have seen the directives about Donald Trump holding full power to interpret the law however he sees fit. We've seen the executive orders about bumping up the federal immunity of police officers, providing more military training and things for them, being able to establish them and use more stricter enforcement on the streets. And we've seen this, and we've seen a whole bunch of other things going in the direction of pointing in this direction. So this is an option. History has seen it before, and we may see it again. Again, I don't know what's going to happen, but it definitely seems to be looking in that direction. We jump over here, because you guys were talking about Obama. I had this ready to go as well. He didn't suspend habeas corpus, but he did do something that's kind of like it. Not fully, but kind of. It ain't good either way, I'm just saying, but it's not fully suspending it. But if we go back to 2011, Obama signed indefinite detention bill into law. It says Obama signed the National Defense Authorization Act into law today. The statutes contain a sweeping worldwide indefinite detention provision. While Obama issued a signing statement, said he had serious reservations, whatever, about the provisions, that statement only applies to how this administration would use the authorities granted by the NDAA. It would not affect the law interpreted by subsequent administrations. The White House had threatened to veto an earlier version of the NDAA, but reversed it shortly after Congress voted for the final bill. Basically, what this thing did was grant the United States the ability to indefinitely detain United States citizens. And it's been extended by Obama, by Biden, by Trump. All of them have extended this. This adds on to Obama with the presidential kill list, which Trump then extended that as well. I'm bringing this up because this goes right along with what I've been telling you from the very beginning. These people are not different. There is no two sides. There's no left and right. There's no good guy, bad guy. There's no Obama was a globalist and Trump is a nationalist. There's none of that garbage. There's none of that stuff that's getting pushed out there. These people are puppets for those who actually pull the strings. Every single one of these people has a handler behind them. They all have somebody behind the scenes. You can usually see those people always floating around behind the president when they're doing some type of media thing or speech or whatever. There's always that one person that's kind of hanging around the back. You don't really know who they are. You've seen them before, though, but they're the ones who are actually pulling the strings, and they're there to make sure that everything is going accordingly. Obama had one. Biden had multiple. One changed the diapers. The other one gave him ice cream and so on and so forth. And Trump's got him too. They all have these people that do that, and they all play for the same team. That's just how it goes. It's just this idea that we're still pushing this notion that Trump is a nationalist and he's here to fix things and he's here to save things and he's against the globalists and everything that he's doing is good and all the good things that he does, he's doing it, but all the bad things is somebody else and they're the problem. And this whole thing, it's ridiculous. Like I said, we got people out there that are literally calling Trump's administration the restrainer of evil. Andy Woods has said that multiple times for months. I've made reference to that before, but I'm tired of it. I'm just going to call him out on it because it's getting absolutely ridiculous that he's still standing up for it. Couple people that have been proponents of this, and they just did a roundtable like a week or two ago, is Jan Markell and Amir Sephardi. They're still out there. They're just worshiping Trump as something that he's not, and they're continuously feeding this idea in the church that he's a good guy, that he's a Christian, that he's on our side, that he's against the globalists, and he's here to actually help us and whatnot. And it's straight up propaganda. It's deception. This is the deception part of, I'm not going to say is the full deception, but this is part of the deception that's in the church right now. It's part of this now religion, that thing that I have. Yeah, it was a hot, righteous anger episode that I did when that happened. But I meant every word of it because it's true. I don't understand why we can't see this and call it for what it is. That's a question I really know the answer to. I'm just presenting it as a way of I don't really know what it is, but I'm just trying to do it. And this has nothing to do with politics. That's the thing, is like whenever I bring this up, people always think it's a political thing. This has nothing to do with politics. This is a spiritual situation because what we have going on, everything that they are pushing, whether it's from the politicians themselves or it's from the church people and the speakers of the churches who are pushing it, this is a spiritual deception that is sweeping through, that is going completely unrecognized because they have been programmed by the satanic world to believe in politics. And that's a very dangerous place to be. When it's one of the most dangerous places to climb out of. I put that up there with something like spiritualism, new age stuff, because that has a spiritual grasp on people's minds to keep them in there and defend against anybody who comes to point it out. Politics has the same spiritual grasp on people's minds, that when you come against anybody or any side that they like, you are instantly deemed somebody on the other side. I still, to this day, get comments from people calling me a Democrat and saying, "Oh, so you suggest that we vote for Kamala." Never once have I said any of that stuff, but they have been programmed to that's their response. They don't even think. If anybody says anything negative about Trump, you're a Democrat and you said to vote for Kamala. I did not. The reason why they do that is because they've been trained to do that. And there's been a lot of pastors and prophecy people that have trained their people to do the same thing. And that is where that deception comes from. This isn't politics. This isn't Trump versus Kamala. This isn't Democrat versus Republican. It has nothing to do with the physical of what's going on. This has to do with the spiritual deception. And it's infiltrated everywhere, including the church. I got something I'll talk about a little bit later when it comes to Charlie Kirk. I just kind of went off on this rant because I think it's important. I think it's important that we recognize what is going on when it comes to this. Now, sticking with the thing that we've been talking about here, this habeas corpus thing, before I got off on my tangent, just got to hang with me on that. Let's take this over to Germany, shall we? Let's make this comparison. We've made this comparison before. Did you know that Hitler also suspended their version of habeas corpus in Germany? Did you know that? Yeah. So I told you we'd bring this back up. The Reichstag fire, which was basically the thing that kicked off World War II, was actually a false flag. Did you all know that? Yeah. The Reichstag fire was indeed a false flag. And one of the things that came from that was the decree of the Reich president for the protection of the people and state. Protection of the people and state, that kind of sounds like the public safety of United States citizens that we just read in the Constitution, right? The Reichstag fire gave Hitler a welcome opportunity to eliminate any and all political opposition. The next day, he persuaded President Hindenburg to issue the decree of the Reich President for the protection of the people and state, or the Reichstag fire decree. It suspended most of the basic rights of the Weimar Constitution and tightened the Reich's control over state governments. Thousands of communists and social democrats were arrested, and their meetings and papers were outlawed, but the National Socialist election campaign proceeded unhindered. Despite the decree, the Nazi Party was still unable to capture the absolute majority, but we understand what happened with things there. But the fact is everything that this thing did, that Hitler issued, is exactly the same thing that would happen to us if habeas corpus was suspended. Something to think about. Just something to think about. Just throwing it out there. So, yeah, there's some interesting stuff. Again, he has set up an avenue to make this happen with the executive orders, with the verbiage and the language he's using in both executive orders and the media, as well as what his administration is calling these things. And in history, again, we got Lincoln the Tyrant, who managed to just suspend it without Congress, even though the Constitution says it has to be Congress. Doesn't mean that Trump can't do the same somehow. He's already going against all the judges and stuff anyways. He's not following the Constitution. When he was asked about the Constitution, he says, isn't it your job as president to uphold the Constitution? He says, I don't know. I got lawyers for that. But he's the one that's going to bring America back. Am I right? America. Yeah. Greatest country ever existed. That's right. Just make sure you go out and go shopping. Got some false flag stuff. We're going to go to war. We're going to war with Afghanistan. Fight for freedom. Has nothing to do with oil or gold or geopolitical stuff. No, it has everything to do with defending freedom. Yeah. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. Anyways. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing, shall we? After I just probably lost some of you. Fun stuff. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to what is going on in the Middle East. This is going to be an interesting one. So, from the get-go, just get it out of the way right now. I'm not going to be predicting anything. I'm not going to be speculating on anything. I don't like doing that stuff. And I made the point before, specifically when it comes to the Middle East news, nobody has a clue what's going on. Nobody. I don't care who you are, man. We get news that can change so fast. I have literally multiple times seen a report from multiple Middle Eastern news agencies come out one day. 2 days later, the entire thing gets reversed into something else. I've seen that so many times. Nobody knows what's going on. So the reason why I want to cover this is because the seems, S-E-E-M, things seem to be going in a certain direction. Things seem to appear this way. Things seem to have this type of situation. And so when we go through this, we need to know that both of these guys, Trump and Bibi, are players on the board. One's not rogue. One's not against them. These guys are players. Then we also do know, more than anything, this we can stake everything on, is eventually the world will turn against Israel. Some will directly come against Israel. Some will just voice concern or opposition to people going against Israel. Nobody's going to come to her aid, which is why God steps in Old Testament style after the church age. And so that's biblical stuff. We know that. We see that. That is the only thing that we can stake a claim to. That's the only thing that we can go, we know this is going to happen. Everything that goes up until that point, it's anybody's guess at that point. Now, we know, we've talked about this before we start getting into all this stuff. We know that during Trump's last administration, he appeared to be with Israel, but he was working on deals behind the scenes in order to basically just make the Abraham Accords and extend the Abraham Accords. That was everything that was going on. You had the Kushner stuff, you had the Saudi Arabia stuff, you had everything that's going on with that. Saudi Arabia won't make a deal without the state of Palestine and all that type of stuff. So we understand that was one of the big things. Get the Abraham Accords going, make things happen in regards to that, which we think, both past and present term, will involve Israel. There's an avenue where Israel could be a part of it and could not be a part of it, and both could end up in the same place of what we know as Scripture. So again, we know that for sure. Something else that we do know is Trump's administration this time, and I've made this point before, is an Israel first administration. This is just how it goes. Half of Congress is owned, and I say owned, by Israel. That's a fact, Jack. Half of Congress is owned by Israel. And so we do know that it is an Israel first administration. Some people say it's America first. I said from the beginning it's Israel first. How does that play along with all the reports that we've recently seen? We don't know. So those are just a couple things that I want to put forward as we go through these news things. Again, I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to say that this is how things are going to go. I'm just going to get you what we're getting told. That's all we're going to be doing. So first things first, this was the big one that came out. Trump sidelines Netanyahu in Middle East policy as relations deteriorate. Sources report the president is frustrated over the Israeli prime minister alleged push for Iran military action. We know that due to reports that Israel wants to strike Iran, Trump was on board with that for a while, and then all of a sudden he seems to be against it and now wants to work out a deal. So again, things can change quickly. Sources close to President Trump report that he is disappointed with Netanyahu. Relations between Netanyahu and Trump have reached a low point with mutual disappointment on both sides. Sources in the president's inner circle report that he has grown increasingly frustrated with the prime minister, Israeli prime minister. Earlier this week, we reported that Netanyahu is frustrated with Trump. Now it appears the American president has also lost patience with his Israeli counterpart. Can you guys read that? I want to make sure that let's see. Two senior figures in Trump's circle stated in a recent closed-door conversations that contents reached Israel Hayam with Trump has decided to stop waiting for Israel and instead move forward with Middle East initiatives without Netanyahu. There's multiple things going on. Deals with Saudi Arabia, the Abraham Accords, and creating ties there, as well as deal with Iran and possibly Gaza. And there's a whole bunch of moving parts with this. The sources explain that the president wishes to make decisions he believes will advance the American interest, particularly regarding Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states. Israel was supposed to participate in some of these steps, referring primarily to normalization with Saudi Arabia. However, according to Trump's perspective, Netanyahu is delaying making the necessary decisions. Given the situation, the president refuses to wait until Israel takes its expected action, proceeding without Israeli participation. It should be noted that part of the normalization with Israel, Saudi Arabia expects to end the war in Gaza and an Israeli declaration about a horizon for a Palestinian state or similar terminology. Minister Ron Dermer, who manages the issue, has spent numerous hours crafting language related to Israel's willingness to establish a Palestinian state in the future, given public opposition to the concept and the political sensitivity of the term in Israel. Furthermore, Trump is furious about what he views as an attempt by Bibi. This is the latest thing that came out that doesn't really make sense based on actions we've seen. This is what I'm talking about when things don't add up. What we're being told in this report, what we're being told by other independent journalists, and what we're being told or what we've seen through actions, none of them make sense. None of them add up. And that's the point that I really want to make when it comes to what we're being told with news coming out of the Middle East. None of these things add up from what we're being told, what we've seen, and so on and so forth. Furthermore, Trump is furious about what he views as an attempt by Netanyahu and his team to pressure National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who has since been dismissed from the position, towards military action in Iran. Netanyahu claimed in response to the publication of the matter in the Washington Post that he spoke to Waltz once. However, Trump remained unconvinced. So what I'm talking about in regards to this thing is there's been some reports coming out saying that Netanyahu has been undermining the Trump administration, going behind his back with people like Waltz and others in the U.S. administration, and they've been stopping Trump's primary goal of eliminating the AIPAC lobby group, which is the Israeli pro-Israeli lobby group for most, I think 98% of the United States Congress that they support on that, as well as Trump is trying to remove all connection to the Mossad and MI6, trying to kick them out. Well, the problem with that information that we've been told is, one, that's not going to happen. The Mossad is basically tied at the hip. They're conjoined twins with the CIA. That's going nowhere. Over half of the technology that's being used within the United States for national security is tied to Israeli companies, so that's not going anywhere. And the AIPAC thing doesn't make any sense because one of the bills that just got sidelined, we've talked about it before, actually had a clause in there that was meant to protect congressmen by making it so they cannot tell the public that they're being fed money from AIPAC. So that information about Trump trying to eliminate all this stuff doesn't make any sense. And so that's tied to this Mike Waltz stuff about Netanyahu working with them in order to make all that stuff so it doesn't go through, undermining Trump and everything. None of it makes sense. That's what I mean, is we're being told 5 different things. We've seen several different actions, and none of them actually work. It's one giant confusion stew of what we're being told and what we're seeing. So none of that makes sense. President's anger likely explains Israel's exclusion from both the announcement regarding the ceasefire with the Houthis and Israel's inclusion in the agreement. It's worth noting that even after Trump announced the agreement with the Houthis, Israeli representatives handled relations with the U.S. were unable to obtain information from the White House officials about developments for a full 24 hours. Beyond Israel's exclusion, Trump is not currently scheduled to visit Israel during his next trip. So that will jump us over to this. Speaking of the Houthi deal, Mike Huckabee saying U.S. isn't required to get permission from Israel to cut deal with the Houthis. Amid shock in Israel at Trump's deal with the Yemen terror group, ambassadors indicates in TV interview that U.S. will only respond to Houthi attacks on Israel if American citizens are hurt. So he goes on, we're not going to read the article, but he goes on to list, there's like, 700,000, which seems high, but it could be true. 700,000 Americans in Israel, and if any one of them gets hurt by a Houthi attack, then they'll respond. But if the Houthis attack Israel and no Americans are hurt, that they're not going to respond, and all that type of stuff. That's basically what he's saying. And so he's basically saying, well, the U.S. doesn't need permission from Israel in order to make deals with terrorist groups and stuff like that, which, again, goes against kind of what we've been told, especially since we're getting stuff like this as well, with all the reports coming out from Mike Huckabee. Says it's reckless and irresponsible for press to allege that the President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu are not getting along. Bibi has spent more time with Trump than I have in the past 3 months. That's a problem. I don't care if you're pro-Israel or not. That's a problem. And I'm his ambassador. This relationship between the United States and Israel remains strong. Well, he's been doubling down on it because he put this out as well regarding a report from the Jerusalem Post. It says, Jerusalem Post needs better sources than this unidentified source. My 4-year-old grandson Teddy is more reliable, and take it from Teddy. This report is nonsense. Israel doesn't have a better friend than Trump. And so, again, we have another case here of reports saying one thing, deals saying another thing, and then Mike Huckabee saying something. None of it adds up. None of it makes sense. Go fish. I mean, this is what I'm talking about when things can get so convoluted and confusing that when we start stacking predictions and speculation on top of it, then we're even more confused. This is why we got to be very careful about Middle East stuff. Now we got this coming out as well. It says, report, U.S. heavily pressuring Israel to reach deal with Hamas. And then Witkoff asked for his criticism of Jerusalem to be leaked. Just keep digging further down. U.S. President Donald Trump's administration is heavily pressuring Israel to reach a ceasefire hostage deal with Hamas ahead of Trump's visit to the Middle East, threatening that if Jerusalem doesn't move along with the U.S. Towards an agreement, Israel will be left alone. Interesting. Of course, it's Haaretz, which, Haaretz is kind of the CNN of, Al Jazeera is kind of the CNN of the Middle East stuff, but Haaretz ain't best. But again, Times of Israel and Jerusalem Post, it's just throwing darts at a board. So just gotta roll and verify and vet and see from there. Citing an unnamed source familiar with the details. The outlet says the Office of Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, let's see here, refused to comment. The report adds, without citing a source, that Steve Witkoff is the anonymous senior U.S. official cited by Channel 12 as criticizing Israel's conduct in a meeting with families of hostages. If until today the hostages paid the price for not ending the war, then today the price will be much heavier for Israel and not only for the hostages. The official was quoted as saying, adding that Israel has failed to take advantage of the emerging U.S. nuclear agreement with Saudi Arabia, which Trump is reportedly no longer conditioning on Riyadh normalizing ties with the Jewish state. So we are getting a consistent theme with all these things, basically saying that the United States is no longer keeping Israel normalizing ties with Saudi Arabia as part of this deal. So worth paying attention to if we're getting that many reports of the same thing. If Israel doesn't come to its senses, the price of missing out will be higher than ever before, the official reportedly Witkoff warned. Haaretz also reported that Witkoff's criticism of Bibi Netanyahu government will leak to the media at Witkoff's request. Well, I don't understand how it's a leak if he's basically saying send it out, but doesn't matter. So we're getting this to go along with everything as well. The theme that I'm getting, or the swirling buzz of theories that I'm getting, of course, is the political side of things that Trump is getting undermined by people in his cabinet. He has a group of people in his cabinet that are trying to derail, of course, they're calling them Democrats, leftists, globalists, trying to derail the Trump administration. So again, we're getting the same political thing of, well, Trump is trying to do the good things, but the left is trying to stop him from the inside. Basically the same exact garbage that we were fed during his first term when it comes to the 2020 situation. Well, Trump was trying to do the good stuff, but it was always the Fauci and the BRICS and those people that were doing the bad stuff, and Trump didn't know, and it's just, don't fall into the political garbage, because you will get distracted and you will be led down the wrong path. Then we got this coming along with it. There's a lot to cover. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth canceled scheduled visit to Israel, sources tell the Post. Hegseth will travel with Trump to Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries, including Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. There is a U.S. Gulf meeting that's coming up here on the 13th. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and I think there's one other country that they're making the rounds to. We'll go over that in just a second. But apparently Hegseth was supposed to have his first visit to Israel, and it's supposedly canceled. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth canceled his scheduled visit to Israel next week prior to President Donald Trump's visit to the region. Source familiar with the matter told Jerusalem Post. This would have been Hegseth's first trip to Israel since he began his role as defense secretary. He was scheduled to meet with Netanyahu and Israeli counterpart Israel Katz, according to Saturday Axios reports. Hegseth will travel to Saudi Arabia and Gulf countries, including Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. And this comes following reports that Trump is no longer demanding Saudi Arabia normalize ties with Israel. Again, we're getting that same theme of that particular thing, of no longer normalizing with Israel, which again, we went over that there's an avenue to reach all the for the other countries to come against Israel, whether they're a part of the Abraham Accords or not. And it could also play a part in the coming Antichrist covenant as well that Israel will sign, because if everybody else is signed on and then Israel's the last one, that could also play a part there. So we got to keep in mind with that there's a chance that Israel is not going to be normalized with the Abraham Accords, which could lead to all these things as well. Just want to make sure that we put that forward. But back to this. We're getting the thing of him canceling his report. Here we go. We got more conflicting information because then there was a tweet put out by Hegseth's spokesperson, somebody from his office, that said that canceled trip has nothing to do with the supposed reports of Trump and Netanyahu having a falling out, that it was actually canceled because Hegseth is going to be taking this trip to the Gulf Coast, and then he will then visit them afterwards. So again, we're getting two conflicting different reports with that whole situation as well. Then we get this one. Let's see. It says Gulf diplomatic sources debate if Trump will announce U.S. recognition of Palestinian state. Saudi Arabia will host a Gulf U.S. summit in mid-May, coming up on the 13th. During Trump's Mideast visit, speculation swirls over a major announcement on a Palestinian state and peaceful U.S.-Saudi nuclear cooperation. Saudi Arabia will host the Gulf U.S. Summit in mid-May, part of the U.S. President Donald Trump's first visit to Saudi Arabia during his second term. The summit, hosted by Saudi Arabia in its capital Riyadh, was preceded by numerous predictions regarding the announcement that Trump referred to, describing it as a very important announcement during a meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney at the White House on May 6th. In addition to what Trump intends to announce, the summit's agenda and the deals and agreements expected to take place have become the talk of the town, ranging from security and military details to technology deals and artificial intelligence deals. There's some interesting players that are going to be going with them on this trip. We'll get to that in just a second. All Gulf leaders are scheduled to participate in the Gulf U.S. Summit, with the exception of King Salman bin Abdulaziz, who was not participated in public events or meetings for a long time because of his health issues. Gulf diplomatic source who declined to be named or disclosed his position, which means take your table salt and pour a whole bunch in there. According to a Gulf diplomatic source who declined to be named or disclose his position, told a media company called The Media Line. So, grain of salt. Donald Trump will issue a declaration regarding the state of Palestine and the American recognition of it, and that there will be establishment of a Palestinian state without the presence of Hamas. So we have seen reports in the past that one of the things that that these countries and governments and politicians were starting to come around on was the idea of we can establish a Palestinian state as long as Hamas is not a part of it. And so this theme that we've seen before seems to be rearing its head. Again, if we go back to Trump's first administration, he was A-OK, and was pushing for a two-state solution more than once. And so now we're starting to see that again. That was one of the things that I was talking about before the election, is we had all the prophecy pastors and all the prophecy teachers and all the prophecy podcasters saying he's pro-Israel, when the evidence pointed to the fact that he wanted to divide Israel. How is that pro-Israel? Specifically, when in Genesis it says, anybody who curses Israel shall be cursed. I rest my case. Let's keep moving. The source also added, if an announcement of American recognition of the state of Palestine is made, it will be the most important declaration that will change the balance of power in the Middle East, and more countries will join the Abraham Accords. Art of the deal. Am I right? That's what I've been told. The source confirmed that economic agreements will certainly be present, but many of them have already been announced, and we may witness the Gulf states being exempt from the tariffs. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee denied the statements made by the source on Twitter Saturday afternoon, saying that Israel has no better friend than the United States. And so we just went over that as well. But here's where we start getting a little thing called critical thinking and logic. Let's take a look. Ahmed al-Ibrahim, or I should get Ahmed al-Ibrahim, a former, that was actually pretty good. I'm actually surprised with myself. Former Gulf diplomat, I can't do it again, don't ask, told the media line, I don't expect it to be about Palestine. Why is that? Well, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and King Abdullah II of Jordan have not been invited. They are two countries closest to Palestine, and it would be important for them to be present at an event like that. So there's a little something to think about in regards to that. If he was going to make such a huge announcement about the state of Palestine, you would think that all of the key players would be present for the event. So something to think about. Again, I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but I'm not saying that it is going to happen. We're not here to speculate. We're just going with what we're being told. Ali Ibrahim also said that there will be major deals coming, perhaps similar to what happened at the 2017 Gulf-US Summit with Saudi deals worth more than $400 billion with a B. Let's not forget that the UAE announced investments in the U.S. worth more than $1 trillion, and Saudi Arabia announced investments worth more than $600 billion. There's a bunch of stuff about deals and stuff. Doesn't matter. So that's some stuff on there. We got a common theme coming again. We're being told one thing, getting shown another. Actions say something else. We know the past during his first administration. We know what's going on in this administration as well. We also got some logic being applied to if an announcement like this was going to happen, you would think that countries that are going to be significantly involved with that would be present at the event, but they're not going to be. So we got a lot of stuff going on with there. You guys following me so far? Got a couple more on this. Let's keep it going. Squeeze me past the baking powder. All right. So back here, now we got this. Israel believes Trump lacks Senate support for Saudi nuclear deal without Israeli involvement. So now we're getting another monkey wrench because we haven't had an entire tool case of monkey wrenches thrown into this as well. We're getting another one. An Israeli official claims that President Donald Trump does not have the necessary support in the Senate, U.S. Senate, to advance a civilian nuclear cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia unless Israel is involved or consents to the move. Remember how I said that Israel owns half of the United States Congress? Yeah, this may play a part in that because they can all go against it if Israel is not involved. So again, we got another monkey wrench. Israeli officials are closely monitoring the recent statements from Trump and admitted that they were caught off guard. However, despite the apparent U.S. green light for the Saudi nuclear initiative, Israeli reactions have remained relatively calm. The president won't be able to get approval to push forward a civilian nuclear program for Saudi Arabia without the Israeli component. The Israeli official told Israel he doesn't have a Senate majority for any agreement that doesn't include Israel or that moves forward without its consent. Then we start getting into the idea, is he going to start making deals and going around the United States Senate to get it done? Are they going to do it in some type of other deal? We understand that there's different groups that like Kushner and stuff are involved that may make a stipulation where they don't have to get Senate approval. And could this be a giant backstab against Israel if that happens? Again, there's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of components that could or could not make this happen. So just think about that. That's why it's like, okay, if we're going to speculate, if we're going to predict what's going to happen, which way are we going to go? Well, we don't really even have a square one to jump off of from this. He confirmed that the Americans have made inquiries with Israel regarding its position, but chose to advance the initiative after determining that Israel could not meet Saudi demands regarding the Palestinian state. According to the report by Reuters, on Thursday, the U.S. has dropped its demand that Saudi Arabia normalize ties, so there's that theme again, with Israel as a condition for moving forward with the civilian nuclear cooperation talks. The report, based on two sources familiar with the matter, comes days just before Trump's planned visit to the kingdom. Two senior officials close to the president recently said in a closed-door conversation that content of which reached Israel AM that Trump has decided to stop waiting for Israel and to move ahead with initiatives in the Middle East without coordinating with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel Ham has also recently reported that Trump and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman are expected to agree on several regionally significant issues during their upcoming meeting. Of course, they do business all the time, so that's no surprise there. Issues that are highly relevant to Israel, but according to Saudi and American sources, Israel will not be party to those understandings. Washington's decision to drop the normalization requirement represents a significant reversal. Under the previous Biden administration, the nuclear talks were part of the broader framework that links Saudi ambitions for the United States Defense Pact to formal diplomatic ties with Israel. That's been going on for a while in regards to all of that as well. Two more on this. Just keep it going. U.S. reportedly drops Israel normalization condition in Saudi's civil nuclear talks ahead of Trump's Middle East visit. Can you guys see that? Make sure. There we go. I think that's better. The United States has conceded the requirement that Saudi Arabia normalizes ties with Israel as a condition for advancing civil nuclear cooperation, according to Reuters report on Thursday. The change comes ahead of U.S. President Trump's visit to the Middle East and ongoing nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran. Hey guys, I just read a report about 10 years ago that Iran's only 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. Then I just saw an update last week that said Iran's only a few weeks away from a nuclear weapon as well. They're almost there. They're just a few weeks away. If you guys don't understand the joke, I'm sorry, but that's just been a running joke for 15 years now that Iran has only been 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. Previously, nuclear negotiations were part of a broader defense alliance deal involving the United States and Saudi Arabia, as well as the normalization of relations between the Saudi kingdom and Israel. The dismantling of Hamas and Iran's so-called axis of resistance brought Israel and Saudi Arabia closer together, making the Saudi-Israeli normalization a catalyst for the potential realigned Middle East. However, amid the ongoing war in Gaza, the Saudi kingdom has repeatedly said it would not normalize ties with Israel without the formation of a Palestinian state, blocking the expansion of the Abraham Accords, the multilateral agreement signed in 2020 between Israel, Bahrain, Morocco, and the United Arab Emirates. Another obstacle to a defense alliance between Saudi Arabia and the U.S. is the kingdom's reluctance to accept the non-proliferation requirements outlined in Section 123 of the U.S. Atomic Energy Act, which nobody pays attention to anyways, which restricts uranium enrichment and plutonium reprocessing to prevent the development of nuclear weapons. Saudi Energy Minister Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman said that the kingdom would seek to enrich uranium to sell the product. However, U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said the 123 agreement would be prerequisite to any deal. And there's other stuff that we don't need to go over. I think we're getting the picture of what's going on with this. Now, last but not least, to tie all this together, we're going to take a look at what's going on with this trip. What's going on? Who's going? Which is the thing that I want to point out. Trump heads to the Middle East with oil trade and nuclear ambitions on the table. So it says Dubai. U.S. President Donald Trump will touch down in the Persian Gulf region, or as he may soon be calling it, the Arabian Gulf, because he just loves to just rename things. That's just what he does. I'm surprised he didn't call it the American Arabian Gulf, honestly, on May 13th for an official trip which stops in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. The stakes are high as the visits take place amid turbulent geopolitical tensions. On the agenda will be the Israeli-Gaza war, ceasefire talks, oil trade, investment deals, and the potential for new policy developments in the areas of advanced semiconductor exports and nuclear programs. But what we want to look at is who's going to be going right here. The presidential visit is drawing several Wall Street and Silicon Valley titans to the Saudi kingdom. A Saudi-U.S. investment forum announced just this week and set to take place on May 13th in Riyadh will feature guests including BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, Palantir CEO Alex Karp, and CEOs of major firms like Citigroup, IBM, Qualcomm, Alphabet, Frank Templeton, among others. That includes AI and crypto czar David Sachs. That's the one. Palantir, Alex Karp, on his way to Saudi to make some deals. Interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to be booming. Because if there's some extravagant deal where Palantir starts moving in, which Palantir's already connected to Israel, but if they start moving into Saudi and they start moving into Middle Eastern countries like that, that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, especially if there is some deal that gets signed excluding Israel as well. Things could really be jumping at that point. Really be jumping at that point. So with that, all I want to do, and hopefully that's what I have done, is provide you the information that seems to be coming out, which is conflicting with actions and reports that we have seen in past and present administrations. Reports coming out that don't seem to equal really what's going on. And a common theme that does seem to be going through this, which could or could not actually play a part in the future, and either one would work for future biblical prophetic events that we know are going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea. We have no idea what the plan is regarding Netanyahu and Trump and the instructions that they've been given. We don't know what deals are going to be made. We don't know what announcements are going to be made. We don't know how these Abraham Accords are going to expand, if they're going to expand, if there's going to be something else that comes from it. This is what I'm talking about, is I'm just trying to bring up all the different variables that are very much in play that we have no idea what's going to happen. And so I've made this point before, sometimes, and it seems the closer we get to the day of the Lord, it seems like this is becoming a theme that is really taking even more land in what's going on in the thought process, is sometimes the best route is to just sit back and watch it play out. Not predict something, not speculate something, not try to create some elaborate board of this is going to happen, then that's going to happen, and that's going to happen. You know, none of that stuff is. This is one of those situations with how the news comes out regarding the Middle East. Sometimes the best route is to go, you know what? Let's just see what God makes happen. Because nothing is going to happen without his control. Nothing is going to happen without his okay. Nothing is going to happen further than he can reach. Everything is going to happen according to his timing. And we do know that he is going to protect Israel, and he is going to guide them through everything that we know is going to happen within Scripture. Prophecy will unfold exactly as it is written, exactly as it's already happened for God. Nothing is going to surprise him. Nothing's going to change this. All this news. God's not sitting there flipping through the Middle Eastern news going, they're saying this here and they're saying that there. So I don't know, maybe, what do you think, Gabriel? Should we do this? I'm not exactly sure. He's not doing that. That's the last thing he's doing. He doesn't have to read the reports. He doesn't have to go off of what we're being told through different, spokespeople from Israel and Saudi Arabia and the United States. And he doesn't have to go through all that stuff. He knows what's going to happen. And he will make the moves and the nudges when they need to be done in order to make his prophecy unfold exactly as it is written. And it's going to be glorious because it will glorify him in the end. And that's A-okay. A-okay with me on that. So, all right. Last thing that I want to point out, and I posted this on my Telegram, but I wanted to talk about this and bring it up on a podcast because it's important. 'Tis important, especially when it comes to this clown, who continues to have a voice in the American church. And I'm sorry, I'm sick of it. I am sick of it. So Charlie Kirk posted this on the 8th. Says, we talked about a golden age in America. I'm an evangelical Christian. I am not God, but I have questions. Anyways, but I pray, we're going to go Franklin Graham on this one, but I pray that the new Pope will help usher in a new golden age of Christianity. I want you to stop and think about this, about the words that he just put out. I am an evangelical Christian, point 1. But I pray that the new Pope, point 2, will help usher in a new golden age, point 3, of Christianity, point 4. There's 4 points in this one sentence that are completely wrong. Then he goes on to say, if the new Pope defends the faith, defends the West, and defends biology and eternal truths, I will be his biggest fan. Where do I begin? I can do an entire podcast on this alone. Maybe I should have. But where do I begin on this one? So first of all, and this is the same point that I made about Franklin Graham when he put out his post. He is praying that the new Pope brings in a new golden age of Christianity. So he's not praying for the Pope, who we know is a heretic, who is a part of a satanic cult that is sending thousands of people to hell, who does not have salvation, who worships false deities, who recognizes a false Christ, who is the epicenter for many other things, including human trafficking and sexual exploitation and all that other stuff. He's not praying for the Pope to change that. He's not praying for the Pope to recognize the true Jesus. He's not praying for the Pope to realize that the true Jesus Christ is his Savior and actually get salvation. No, he's praying for the Pope to usher in a new golden age, which goes along with other pagan stuff that we've talked about in the past, like the age of Aquarius and things like that, of Christianity. So he's basically saying that Catholicism is a form of Christianity, which is the main narrative that we see going on in the secular and in the ecumenical evangelical world of things. This dude who proclaims to be a Christian, who seems to go out to all these different churches and stuff like that, can't even figure out what a Christian is. Then he doubles down and says, if the new Pope defends the faith, well, what faith? Well, according to Charlie Kirk, Catholicism is Christianity, so all of them together. Defends the West and defends biology and eternal truths. Well, again, in order to understand what the eternal truth is, you have to understand what Christianity is and what's written in God's word, which he clearly does not have a view of that. He will be his biggest fan. So what we have going on here is Charlie Kirk, a very confused man who, again, I've got questions. I'll just leave it there, because I don't want to say anything because I'm not God, but I've got questions from the very beginning. But when it comes to this, he is blasting to his Turning Point USA crowd that the mystery religion, the combining of faiths and traditions and religions, in as long as it goes against DEI practices that Pope Francis was endorsing, will buy his thumbs up, taking that entire crowd and pushing them towards that mystery religion, the coming one world religion. That's what we have going on here. This is an endorsement. This is a broadcast. This is a mystery propaganda bullhorn broadcast to get his now religion followers. Again, the TP USA and TP faith. They combine the politics and the faith, that now religion that I've been talking about that got me in so much trouble. This is it. This is what I was warning about. This is what I have been screaming from the mountaintops. This is the thing that got me blacklisted from the prophecy community, because I was calling this out. Now, who does Charlie Kirk associate with? Well, I know there's this one big dude out in California. I think his name is Jack Hibbs, who lets Charlie Kirk share his pulpit with him and go on his podcasts and do political rallies with him and all that type of stuff. And he loves Charlie Kirk. He endorses Charlie Kirk. Well, I believe it was Jack Hibbs who went on Brandon Holthouse's podcast and said that Jesus Christ will turn you away if you do not vote. That sounds exactly like the same things that Charlie Kirk has been endorsing. There's another guy, James Cadiz, also best friends with Charlie Kirk, and has been doing the same thing and saying the same things. It's almost like all these guys are all connected because they're all saying the same message of this now religion, of combining politics and religion together. That your faith relies upon voting, and your faith relies upon supporting Donald Trump. And then we have all the other prophecy guys out there that still are defending Trump, calling him the restrainer, and that he's against the globalists and everything like that. Part of the NAR movement, people like Michelle Bachmann and Alex Newman, who have all been caught up in that. It's just amazing what we have going on in the church. And this is not politics. Again, I want to emphasize this. This is not politics. This is mystery religion. The politics is a front for what is going on spiritually about driving the religions together. And we are seeing it here with posts like Charlie Kirk, with associations with people like Jack Hibbs and James Cadiz, for people out there pushing that your faith relies upon the political vote of a satanic politician, and that your salvation is tied to that checkbox, which in the long run doesn't mean anything. I think the reason why I get so fired up about this, the reason why I bring this up so much and I point it out, is because there is a wide vacant void in the church right now that nobody is calling this out. There's many that go along with it. There's many that have nothing to do with anything that's going on with this. They just go along their merry way, ignorant of what's going on. I don't think that's good. I don't think it's bad either. That's kind of a catch-22 when it comes to that. But then there's just this large vacant void where there's nobody that's willing to say what needs to be said about what's going on. And there, again, those who do, I'm not going to say all of them, but the majority that do focus again on the political side of things. This has nothing to do with politics. That's the front of what's going on. That's the thing that we see here in the world. But this is a spiritual problem. This is what I was trying to call out in the now religion when it comes to this, because just nobody seems to see what's going on. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that nobody really seems to understand what the mystery religion is. Again, there's pastors that you say that to them and they're confused. They have no idea what that means. And it's devastating. It's devastating. But it's stuff like this. And remember, this is a guy that has been pushed into the church, brought into the church, infiltrated the church. I have warned about Charlie Kirk, and I said, the dude is a snake. He is a piranha. His goal is to get into the church in order to push this type of stuff. And he's doing it. And people are embracing him. I wish people could see it. I pray that people see it. Because unfortunately, it's this type of stuff that's going to lead people to believe that they're a Christian. And they're going to be left standing on the earth when the rapture happens because they were sold a false version of Jesus, one that cannot save. And they will get left behind. Left questioning, wondering, what did I do wrong? I did what I said I did what I was told I needed to do. But unfortunately, you went along with what the world was telling you and what the world's version of Christianity is. It saddens me. I mean, it devastates me. But we just keep going along like just another normal day. Just another normal day. I urge you, if you're one of those people that believes in this type of Christianity, you are in the wrong. It may look good, it may sound good, it may even use the same language. That's where the deception comes in. Don't get caught in that. Make sure you get yourself to the true Jesus, the one that can save, the one who warns about religion, specifically about deceptive religion like this, that if we're not careful, and because of our obsession with the cult of personality, well, I like that guy. He says all these good things and I agree with him. Well, that's great. But in the end, is he just another cog in pushing the false narrative and the false religion? You should probably stay away. Charlie Kirk is somebody you absolutely need to stay away from, especially when he's pushing stuff like this. It's the same thing that I said when it came to that Franklin Graham post, because that's exactly what Franklin Graham was calling for as well, praying for the Pope, praying for the Catholics to choose a new Pope. That's not Christian at all. It's not. Don't get caught up in the cult of personality. Don't get caught up in this false religion. Get to the true Jesus. And his gospel is as simple as ABC. Nothing more, nothing less. A is you admit that you're a sinner, the act of repentance, the changing of mind, or metanoia. It's turning from self to Christ. Not turning from sin, not turning from whatever it is that you're dealing with, things that we will constantly battle with before we're saved and after we're saved. You don't have to get your life perfect and in order to do it. Actually, there's a verse that says, "Come as you are." But the changing of mind from self of I can do this on my own to Christ of I need Jesus alone is the true repentance the scripture tells us about, which allows true belief in Jesus Christ. Because how can we truly believe in Jesus if we don't even understand why we need him? So it's through that repentance that allows true belief. You believe that Jesus Christ is the one and only begotten Son of God, that he came down 100% man, 100% God, the God-man, the one and only, there is no other. And he came down and lived the perfect sinless life. Again, the only one to do so. He was the only one to be sinless. He was the spotless lamb, which means he was the only one qualified to carry the sins of the world to the cross. See, that's the thing, is religion tells you self. You can do it. It's within you. That's what religion sells you. Jesus Christ reaches out his arm and said, I did it. Just come with me. That's the difference. Because he was the only one qualified to carry the sins because of his spotlessness to the cross. And he took our place upon that cross and was crucified. He took our place, my place. Instead of me being on that cross, it was me who drove the nails. He took our place and he died. But because there's power in the blood of Jesus Christ, power in his blood that he shed for us, he did exactly as he said he would and promised. He did exactly as he prophesied he would. To the T, to the letter. He defeated death and rose again on the third day. For all who believe in him shall not perish but live forever in his presence and in his glory. The glory is his. There's no works for us to be done. There's nothing that we can do to earn it. It's already been done. When he was on the cross, he said, it is finished. It is done. He did it. The glory is his. We just accept it. That's why we place our faith in Christ. We place our belief in him. That doesn't mean you just hear the story and say the prayer and you're saved. That's not how that works. You got to place your faith in him. And see, as you call upon the Lord, it's basically just an outward call to your Savior of, Lord Jesus, I am a sinner. And I have sinned and I need you. You alone. I believe that you are the one and only begotten Son of God, that you came down and lived the perfect sinless life, that you died upon the cross and that you rose again on the third day. Lord Jesus, I need you. Amen. Amen. Give your life to the Lord before it's too late. Don't fall into this stuff. Don't get caught up into this. Mystery religion is very seducing. It's very confusing. It can sound almost identical to the true thing, but I can guarantee you that it's not. Don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in it. All righty. All right. Let's see here. We got some questions to finish this off. We're about out of time, so let's try and get through these the best we can. All right. Maccabees question: do you think Jack Hibbs, is a new ager now that he hangs out with Kirk? Well, that was kind of convenient timing there on that. I don't think Hibbs is a new ager. I think he has gone over to the side of the Dominionist crowd. I think he's moved over into the Dominionist side of things, which I believe Kirk is one of those people as well. I think he has definitely introduced and allowed Eastern mysticism practices into his church through music and rituals and things like that, which he has come out in defense of, saying anybody who speaks out against those groups are actually the ones committing sin, which is completely false and a lie and bad teaching. We understand that Hibbs has preached a false gospel and a heretical gospel. And I think he's falling further away from true teaching of what's going on. I actually do believe that. I think Jack Hibbs has missed his calling of being a politician. I think that seems to be his number one passion, is to be a politician rather than a pastor. I think being a pastor has taken a back seat to that, and I think it's been that way for a while, and he's moving further in that direction. So I wouldn't consider him a New Ager, but I believe that he has brought in some of the mystic practices of New Age into his church. That's how I would put it in regards to that. Let's see here. Patrick Starr question: have you ever looked into the Met Gala? Do the global elites use this creepy event as their kickoff to preview what they have planned for the upcoming year? I think what goes on at the Met Gala is high society, private society stuff. I don't want to get into specifics, but that's usually when a lot of sales, a lot of transfers, and a lot of satanic and sexual things occur. A lot of that stuff happens at those events like that. I don't recommend this movie at all, but if anybody who has seen Eyes Wide Shut, it's kind of that stuff that happens at those events. The gala is just the front for it, and then everything happens with the after parties afterwards. Let's see here. Edward McKelvey question: have you heard that they are sending 1,100 FBI agents to Huntsville, Alabama? Any thoughts? I don't think it is because of us farmers. I saw something about that, but I don't actually know anything about it. I didn't look into it. I just happened to see it in passing. So unfortunately, I don't necessarily have any thoughts on that, McKelvey. Sorry. Yeah, I haven't looked into it. Let's see here. Lori S. question: could this habeas corpus lead to going after Christians and Jews? I don't think they would be going after Jews. If you've noticed, any of the stuff that they have been signing in all has to do with protection of the Jews. No, this would just be going for full lockdown. This isn't specific targeting. This would have to be doing with declaring a martial law, basically sticking the military on the streets of the United States in order to do what they want to do there. So again, this has a lot to do with timing. This has a lot to do with that, but no, it wouldn't be after specific targets. This would just be an overhaul of the United States. That's what that would be. Let's see. Wendy Butler question: have you seen who Trump wants in for the Surgeon General? Yeah, I've seen her. There's a lot of stuff going on. She's not even like an actual physician. Her license is expired. She's pro mRNA. She's pro her holistic wellness stuff, all wrapped up in things like that. And this actually, her company supports other companies who do Rumble podcasting that's pro-Trump stuff. And there's a whole bunch of rabbit hole things with her and everything like that. I kind of looked into it, but didn't do a full dive into it. So I know she's not good, and I know she's not fit for the position. I can tell you that. Let's see here. Misfit Gracie question off topic, but is the CIA involved with the Pakistan, India? There's some rebel groups that are active in Pakistan, but as far as like their government goes, nothing that I can confirm. I'm not saying that they're not, but at the same time, I can't confirm it. Same with India. If there is any connection there, it's something that I don't know of. So, yeah. Let's see here. Liz Ash. I think this is the last question here. Yeah, last question. Liz Ash. Has anybody's groceries and gas gone down yet? Some of my friends told me Trump would make sure those are lower, but my grocery bill and even normal bills are shooting through the roof. Well, as I said before, when prices go up, they don't go down. That's how that works. When prices go up, they don't go down. And that's what I mean when it comes to freedoms too. When they take your freedom, they don't give it back. And that's what I mean. So you're not going to see prices go down. It's just not going to happen. Even though Trump continues to say eggs, the egg prices are down. We have too many eggs and stuff. He's just talking out of his booty. Just talking out of his booty. So no, prices have not gone down over here for us. So, yeah. All right, guys, that is all I got with questions and everything tonight. So, yeah. So, again, tomorrow is Mother's Day. So, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Make sure you guys go ahead and say hello to your moms if they are still present with us, and continue to show them love and support for what they did in regards to that. And then tomorrow, of course, is Sunday. So, make sure you get your booties to church. But usual spiel, if you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. And liking, sharing, and subscribing helps reach those people. Again, we're trying to reach those who are lost, have questions, and ultimately need the gospel. It's one of those things, we talk about these subjects, we talk about these things. Hopefully we can bring in some non-Christians, non-believers that are interested in that stuff, and then hit them with the gospel at the end. And so if you guys can do me a solid and like, share, subscribe, it certainly helps. Also, make sure you guys follow me Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be backup live streaming over on Rumble. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow me over there. And yeah, you just never know what's going to happen with these streaming platforms. And then Telegram, and post updates, announcements, and little things like that. So yeah, make sure you guys go ahead and follow me over there as well. Tomorrow's Sunday, so the Sunday Funny will be out. I was a little late last Sunday. I apologize for that, but it got out. So, and then, best place to stay up to date, of course, is the WretchedWatchmen.com website. That's your one-stop shop to stay up to date on what's going on with everything happening around this channel. So latest podcasts, announcements, and everything like that. So make sure you guys go ahead and bookmark that page so you know what's going on there. Just a reminder, no show on Tuesdays. So if you show up here, you're going to be alone. There's going to be nothing going on. We'll be back to normal next Saturday. So no show Tuesday. And then last but not least, if you guys would like to support this channel, you got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and GiveSendGo. This channel is now monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views, anything like that. I run solely off of your guys' generous donations. So if you guys would like to help keep this going, and also help make sure that we can get the gospel to as many people as we can, those links are below. Thank you guys for your support and your blessings. Again, you guys are the ones that make this happen. You guys are the ones that allow everything to be free, and it's awesome. So I appreciate you guys, your prayers, your support, your donations, everything. So thank you guys for that. And that's it. So make sure you guys get your heathenic, misfit, wretched booties to church tomorrow. Wish your mom a happy Mother's Day, and the Lord does not come back by Saturday. I'll meet you guys right back here. Peace out, and Maranatha.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.